All right. Thank you for staying with Daybreak. We're still talking about the state of the nation, matters, politics, and everything in between. Dr. Kuru Court is here, party leader, Third Way Alliance, Honorable Jared Okello, Member of Parliament Nyando, and Honorable Owen Baya, Deputy Majority Leader, Kilifi North. Because you said that we've given him 6 minutes, we'll give you 6 minutes.
and to convince us to convince us that the government is actually working for the people of Kenya. Let him take the 6 minutes.
Okay, one of the things that I want to say, the party leader here of Third Way Alliance, are very, you're part of the constitution-making process, and we revere you for that. But I also want to know whether the taxi driver that brought him here also told him that the cost of unga has gone down. We inherited it at 240 shillings, and now, if you go to the supermarket, it is selling at 135, 139, and that
was
is
190. No. Let me finish. It wasn't true.
Let me finish.
Never 240.
I did not interrupt in what they were.
Him as we go.
Yes. Yes.
Let's deconstruct as we go.
One of the things that is happening is that the price of unga has gone down. Significantly. And I wish that he had also said that. And what constitutes...
No, it's gone down to how much?
If you allow them to speak, I can take myself away.
Continue.
Okay. Yes, so that I can allow them to
we will
speak.
deconstruct this government in his absence.
So that is a fact. And why has it come down? Because William Ruto put in measures that ensured that the price of unga comes down. And that we need to credit this government for. Because everything that we talk about is about cost of living. Cost of living mostly is about food prices, is about what people put on the table every day. That is one of the fundamentals. And that fundamental we have worked on, and it is working for this country. And we have shown that those policies are working. Secondly, on the issue of a lot of young people were jobless. Today, that percentage has gone down. The housing project that is there today is working in such a way that if you go to Nairobi here, in Pangani, you will actually see that the houses that are being built, and there are people building, and there are people who earn a living every week because they are in that construction site. Today, if you want to know whether there is progress in a country and to know whether things are working, look at the consumption of cement, indicators. Today, the construction industry is booming in this country. Everybody, including my friend Jared Okello here, is building something. Probably Kuru is also building something.
No, me, I'm not building anything.
Okay, you're not building anything. But there's
no money to
many Kenyans are out there in the construction industry. That's an index to index to show you that there is money in the economy, and there is progress in the economy, and there is work that is happening. The construction sector is booming in this country, meaning therefore there's money in circulation. Because it's moving from the banks, it's moving from manufacturing. There's consumption of manufacturing items, and therefore it's an indicator that something is happening in this country. Yes, we have issues of fuel, but the issue of fuel is not just a Kenyan problem; it's a global issue. And if it is a global issue,
now the excuse.
If it is a global issue, it will definitely affect, just like you said that you are reading something that you saw reading. You saw the list of countries where fuel is the most expensive in this world. You saw it, and Kenya was not was not ranked anywhere in that list. What does that tell you? It tells you that this issue of fuel is a problem that is a global problem, is a global fundamental, and therefore we cannot just sit down here in Kenya and say we have brought the fuel the price of fuel to 100 shillings, while in the neighboring country it is selling at this. These are things that we have to look at them from a global perspective. Yes, even the president said, yes, times are hard. And times have never been easy. But even great economies in this world that have emerged didn't just start at the top. They emerged from somewhere, struggled from a certain place, but they got a breakthrough and are now resilient economies. So when I sit here, I look forward to the future and say, yes, the policies that this government investing heavily in agriculture, investing in healthcare, investing in housing, you know, investing in education. This country is stabilizing by the day. I know my friends here thought that the moment William Ruto put down the Bible and sat on that chair as president, everything else will come down.
He said it himself. He said it himself.
Even when...
But the moment I put the Bible, ABCD will change. He even gave us timelines.
Even when Uhuru had taken 5 years to destroy an economy, Jared and my friend think that William Ruto will take 1 month to repair what has been destroyed in 5 years. It cannot happen. It is not possible. It is not practical.
Going back to the real mirror.
One of the things that my friend Okura said that he actually voted for William Ruto.
Yes, I did.
And I do not think he accepted lies because he's an intelligent man, because he cannot sit here and say that the lies of the campaign.
No, but I want be lied to.
I want to say that William Ruto convinced one brilliant gentleman called Akuru Okot, and he convinced him that it is worth voting for me. And he voted for him on the basis that what Ruto presented in his plan was something that is feasible, implementable, and able to transform this country. I want to tell Akuru Okot here that hold your horse. Hold your horse, cool. But before I finish the 6 minutes, I finish the 6 minutes. But I want to say this. I want to say this.
No, we are not convinced.
I want to say this, that I was very impressed yesterday by ODM, my former party.
No, Azimio.
That during their sitting yesterday, they actually adopted the report. And actually said very nice things about it.
Okay.
And
I think he's coming there.
I think
we're going to talk about NADCO reporting.
No. They set the stage. They set the agenda.
Yeah.
You know, allow me also to set my agenda going forward.
We'll come to you.
But I want to.
I have a question, Trevor. I have a question.
And I'd like Owen to clarify just a few things.
Yes.
You talked about jobs coming up. Okay?
Yes.
So 70,000 Kenyans have lost their jobs in the last 1 year. This is according to the Confederation of Kenya Employers. The Finance Act 2023 has made the cost of doing business unsustainable by negatively impacting cash flows. Therefore, 70,000 people have lost their jobs.
Okay.
Let's talk about the building of cost. Cost of building went up by 2.71% year-on-year in the third quarter of 2023, driven by the rise of cost of cement, steel, fuel, and other key inputs. This is data from the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics.
No,
so what you're saying is...
You see, no. I want to say this. You see, which sectors... Because when people lose jobs, they would lose jobs in certain sectors, but there are certain sectors that gain. And that is how economies work. Certain sectors may not be lucrative right now. Batteries, you know, when Eveready closed, people lost jobs because batteries are not at this particular time.
You're talking about Eveready a decade plus.
Yes. But I'm giving you a pure economic example.
I don't even remember.
A pure economic example, okay? When economies develop, there are certain areas certain things that will close. And people will lose jobs in those sectors, but there are others that will grow and absorb people. That is how economies. Radios used to be manufactured, and I'm sure you owned a Sony radio or something like that. They don't manufacture those things anymore. And the people in those sectors lost jobs, but the people in mobile phones, the mobile phone industry, gained, people got jobs from those areas. And that is how economies grow. Okay. That is how economies move up and down.
Trevor, before we shift,
you want to run away from the fundamentals of economics.
Okay.
And look at politics.
Okay.
You know,
look at the fundamentals.
May I have one advice to Mheshimiwa Owen here?
Yes.
Please, go back and watch yourself after this interview and ask yourself the question, are you even convinced on what you're telling Kenyans?
Very much.
Honestly, go and rewatch this. And maybe next time you come to Trevor's show, you will somehow
be more
prepared and logical in what you're telling us. Because right now, to be honest, umetapatapa tu hapa na pale. Hakuna kitu umetuambia. Now, of course, I don't even want to go what Trevor's challenge on the joblessness. Of course, you're not being able to explain. But Mwesh, I want to you know, we don't want a failed government, because a failed government means a failed country. I think if you guys lessen a little bit of your politics, because you are seeing everything from a political eye, you are still campaigning, you are still telling these, you know, a lot of lies. For example, when the president says, we know of cartels, that are actually affecting the economy of this country, whether it's in the oil industry, the sugar, or whatever. Why are we not exposing these cartels? You know, why are we not exposing them? And I think, just listening to you, by the way, you have reduced the country to only one individual called William Samoei Ruto.
But that's what
there are 50 million plus Kenyans.
That is what you have been doing. The only thing you've sat here throughout is to talk about William Ruto.
You know,
talk about
the more
economy
the more I listen to you,
the name of the president.
Allow him to finish.
The more I listen to you,
yes.
I read a lot of fear.
Yes.
I see psychophancy of an individual. And I think if today even you are to use, and off the air I was telling you, please use the context of Kilifi North.
Yes.
And tell us what are the success stories in Kilifi North in terms of the economy, the cost of living. Yeah. That way maybe you can even convince Kenyans that, in Kilifi North where I come from, and Mheshimiwa, I can tell you from Nyando, things are not good. Yeah? And you as parliamentarians, you are the representatives of your people. But now you have come here to just represent William Samoei Ruto, yeah? As if he is the constituency that actually elected you.
What you need to do set the agenda apart from William Ruto.
But the agenda has been...
If you set the agenda as William Ruto,
just a quick one.
Let's discuss William Ruto.
Just a quick one before you go to the NADCO. I want to make a few things clear. Yeah. Firstly, let's all agree that this is one government that is very difficult to defend.
Yes.
And David Ndii, in one of his tweets, made it clear that he's not going to peddle lies alongside his other liars in that government. So he said, enough is enough. My friend talked about the conflict of interest bill in Parliament. That conflict of interest bill is actually regulating the conduct of members of Parliament only. It does not make any reference to cabinet secretaries.
Let me tell you this,
to the president,
that is not a fact.
To the principal secretaries.
He's peddling something that is not...
It does not
it is not correct.
And I've read it.
He was not
quite
in Parliament
clearly.
yesterday.
Let him finish.
Secondly,
he was not in Parliament yesterday, and he is not privy to the amendments that were done.
You're the deputy.
So what he's actually saying is that a bill was presented yesterday, discussed and passed. No, I mean, this is something that was brought before a long time. So we have gone through it, we have internalized it, we have interrogated it. We know areas where it has problems with, and we actually said, let us abandon it in toto and begin afresh. Or just forget about it, because we have EACC Act, we have Crimes Act, we have got so many laws. We actually tend to over-legislate in this country instead of addressing the common issues that afflict Kenyans on a daily basis. He talked about unga prices. Kenyans know that is not true, so we will not go there. Now, the Nairobi Stock Exchange last week said that 9,600 farms have since decamped Nairobi Stock Exchange. What does that tell you? That they cannot afford to sell shares. And that directly means that there will be joblessness. Federation of Kenya Employers is saying 70,000 people have since lost jobs this year alone. In fact, not even this year, with the coming in force of the Finance Act, 70,000 people have lost jobs. So you can't say people lost in the dairy sector, but gained. No, this is collective. I mean, this is the only body that keeps that data. That data is not with members of parliament. And we also have to derive that information from them. So they are saying things are extremely wrong in this country. You read our newspapers on a daily basis. Companies are actually publishing profit warnings.
That's true.
On a daily basis. That tells you that things are bad. And apart from what my colleague from Kilifi North is telling us, the deputy president is the one who has come out to say that things are bad and it has gone beyond our reach.
And he's asking for help.
And he's asking for help. But here is my colleague convincing us that everything is right. So who do I believe? Finally, he talks about building. I'm building nothing. My brother Ekuru is building nothing.
I don't even have the money.
Probably he's building something. Now, those who are building are actually cartels oscillating around government. They have a lot of money in circulation to the detriment of suffering Kenyans out here. So they can't say that people are building, and you just read a very good data from the Kenya Bureau of Statistics, which is a government body, saying how building costs have so escalated that Kenyans cannot do so. Finally, they say fuel is a global problem. It is only a global problem when it comes to Kenya. Tanzania just released a memo last week on how they have dropped quite significantly the prices of oil. So which is this market that Tanzania is going to, that Kenya cannot be shown?
I have a question. I have a question to the two. Yes, I have a question for the two members of parliament. Some of the parliamentarians, especially I think the member of parliament for Kitui West, if I'm not wrong, and Utende Amolo from Rarieda, have clearly said that parliament is for sale. This is the worst parliament ever. I don't know what their comments are, because I think Kenyans would like to hear. Even when you pass a law like that that regulates parliament.
Start with me, I would say this, that immediately we got elected, Ruto had minority. But he bought some members from our coalition to get majority. That is why he is now a majority whip. Yet, in actual sense, they are the minority. So yes, parliament is on sale.
Okay.
Owen, is parliament for sale?
You see, I want to tell you, Trevor, I came here to discuss.
No, tell Kenyans. Don't tell Trevor.
Discuss ideas. You see,
It's a yes or no
these two gentlemen
I've said
here
yes.
want to discuss Gachagua, want to discuss Ruto. One word, the next one is Gachagua, the next one.
When you will be president, we'll discuss you, Honorable Owen.
Let's discuss ideas that will help this nation move forward, not about Gachagua.
But parliament also should help.
But I want to tell.
But answer the question: is parliament for sale?
Parliament has never and will never be for sale. If Jared is up for sale himself, this is his problem. We will buy him if he wants to be sold.
So they buy people.
If he wants to be sold.
So there is a budget.
But I want to say this. Parliament, I'm a parliamentarian and I have been very consistent since the 12th Parliament. I believe I was once in ODM. They mistreated me. I didn't see value in belonging there. They are a party that does not know where they are going. They only worship one person. I moved out.
Just like you worship Ruto too now.
Because I wanted to go to a place where ideas are, and I left. You know, Parliament as it is today, the only people, and I want to challenge, I want you to watch Parliament. These members from ODM have sold their soul to nothing. You know, reason?
No, you can't sell yourself to nothing.
No, they have done that because today, they come to stations and talk about the things that they want to talk. They are never in Parliament. We don't see them in the benches of the minority to defend the things that Kenyans... When Kenyans give you an opportunity to be in the minority, you have a duty, actually a constitutional duty, to stay there and put the government on checks and balances. Majority of the time, and a lot of the time...
Trevor, to that extent, I'm almost agreeing with Honorable Owen.
A lot of the time, the members of ODM and Azimio have resigned their positions. They are never.
They've even walked out.
Jared cannot sit here and tell me about budget. The budget committee is half-half. Budget committee is half-half. You know, half minority, half majority. They sit there and they have put some of their best brains in the budget committee. They never come. They never bring their ideas, alternate ideas to align the budget. The finance committee, which is actually the one that makes the tax bills and the finance act and all that, is half-half. You know? They never appear there. They stay away and wait to come to plenary and raise points of order. Where is the, you know, Parliament in session, Speaker Slade said, Parliament in plenary is Parliament in exhibition. But Parliament in committee is Parliament at work. The work of Parliament, and you know, 80% of work in Parliament is done in committees. But today, if you take the role of committees, and I would like you to do that research, take the role of committees and say, who are the people who do not attend those committee meetings where real legislation is done? This, what is it called? The conflict of interest bill, okay, went to JLAC. Okay, JLAC, they have the best lawyers, Otende Amolo. I don't know if Otende Amolo is there, but some of their best brains, Otieno Kajwang, sits in that committee. And you know, and they have brought but they do not come. Okay. They only wait for the law to come for for second reading, you know what second reading is in Parliament? Just people talk and talk and talk and talk. When it comes to third reading, where now we are supposed to go clause by clause and amend clause by clause, they don't appear.
Okay.
And then they come back here and say, we will wait for you in court.
Okay.
Why have they resigned their ability to criticize government?
Must have a right of reply.
They have resigned. Let me make this point. They have resigned their authority. They have ceded their authority in Parliament to courts.
Okay.
You hear what they said? Or, you know, every time they say, no, we will go to court.
Okay.
But they have
now,
you just
right of reply. We've been adversely mentioned. My coalition has been adversely mentioned.
Yes.
I began by saying that there was a very deliberate effort by Ruto when he lost the election, but was announced by Chebukati. Having garnered less numbers in Parliament, he went out to buy members of Parliament. In fact, some of us have since been expelled, but I heard the court reinstated them yesterday. So now he has the majority in Parliament, in quote, majority. That is why my brother is the majority whip here.
Leader.
Now, why was he doing all this? Because, you know, even if you go to the United States of America, there is a time when the members of Congress are actually less within the party controlling government. But then they usually reach out to each other on a bipartisan approach for certain pieces of legislation to pass. Why was Ruto so hungry
Drop the name
to get
Ruto.
all this?
Drop
Why,
Ruto.
So what is his name?
Why can't the minority
Drop Ruto. Because
No,
I want to make this point.
It's not about attendance. We don't have attendance register here. I'm always in Parliament and I debate, and they know me.
You know what Jared is saying is not true, because the majority...
Anyway, I haven't finished, so I was just actually putting my case. I haven't reached my conclusion.
Yes.
So the reason why Ruto was reaching out to all this, so that Parliament, which is now, can be an appendage of State House or of the executive. That is what Parliament is. So you go and present a budget, and he has made reference to members from my coalition sitting in the budget committee. Let me tell you, by the time the budget committee finishes its work, the resultant feature that appears in Parliament is a totally different document. Totally different. And for anyone who has interest can dig to know all this. When Kenyans presented a memorandum, these are Kenyans, forget about Parliament now. We expand it to the Kenyans who presented their memoranda on the finance bill. What then came before the House for debate and adoption was a totally different thing, never reflective of the wishes of Kenyans. So we are being controlled by a dictatorial tendency perpetuated by Kenya Kwanza. So they have the numbers. We are the minority. There is something in Parliament called Standing Order number 95, and he's a culprit in invoking it all the time. This order actually says that from the mood of the House, and the mood is only dictated upon by those in Kenya Kwanza, by the mood of the House, the mover should be called upon to reply. So that then cuts off the debate. It negates the very purpose of Parliament. So Parliament has become a conveyor belt of anything bad from State House. It has to pass whether we like it or not. And because there is that stand that whatever Ruto wants must pass, we wait them in court.
Okay.
You saw what happened with the House.
I have a right to reply on what he has said.
That is the recourse that we have. Courts of law.
NADCO report, and I'll bring a Kuro.
I need to reply on something because it's not a fact. No. Trevor, just half a minute.
No, I never commented on Parliament because you guys
a half a minute. If you allow me.
Are we going to need a referendum for the report that was given by the National Dialogue Committee?
I think
are we mutilating our constitution?
Yes, we are mutilating the constitution. First of all, and I'll repeat it here, Trevor, I've always told you in many of your shows that I don't believe in the Bomas process. It's a useless talks. The outcome of it, there is no common good for the Mwananchi. If you look at what the emphasis on that report is about politics, rewarding individual politicians. For example, when they say that we need the office of the official opposition. And at the risk of going back to the debate about whether Parliament is on sale or not, it is the failure of parliamentarians to use the structures within the current constitution to actually, represent the people, hold government to account. There is no need for a leader of opposition because that's, like you say, it's a mutilation of the constitution. We have the majority leader in parliament. We have minority leader. And at the risk of almost agreeing with Honorable Owen, it is those structures that they must actually use to show leadership in parliament. That is not being demonstrated currently. But when Boma's process was looking at the individuals, almost rewarding individuals, and that's why there's talk of leader of opposition, there's talk of prime cabinet secretary, which is a stranger, an alien thing. If you read Article 130 of the Constitution of Kenya, that describes the cabinet, the national cabinet, national government of the Republic of Kenya. It is the president, his deputy, cabinet secretaries, I think the attorney general. There is nothing called prime cabinet secretary. So we are now trying to sanitize those positions because they are made out of politics of reward. Really, this is going against the will of the people. And I think going forward, to be honest, and I had the good senator from Busia, Okiya Omtata, say, I think if this government doesn't check itself, it's about time we actually invoke Article 1 of the Constitution of Kenya. Talks about the sovereignty, power, sovereign authority vests in the people of Kenya. Yeah. To exercise it directly or indirectly through their elected representatives. Now that we have also had parliament is for sale, it means we don't have a parliament that actually represents the interests of the people. Now the people may have to go back to the drawing board and say, we are the employers of this government. We are the employers of these parliamentarians. So let's fire them. And I think for me, if there is one desperate amendment that is needed today in the Constitution of Kenya, is to amend Article 1 to allow people a time when they can fire a government of the day or parliamentarians, and you have to read that together with Article 104 on recall clause. Because even today, there are parliamentarians who are saying, actually, we have failed. And you've seen the admission from Honorable Jared. And I agree with him to my extent that even when you suggest certain proposals that are good for the country, Honorable Owen Mbaya will look at it from a political point of view that we are only opposing Kenya Kwanza. They will not look at it from the perspective that perhaps a contribution from Azimio MPs will actually enrich this particular law. So yes, that NADCO report is really more about political rewarding than actually looking at what is the common good for the country.
Two questions for you because you're the expert in the Constitution. Yeah. You're part of the team that made it. Was Article 1 and Article 104 watertight enough to be executed? And two, did you envision a hybrid sort of situation? Because people say it's either presidential or parliamentary, but we seem to be suggesting hybrid.
So I will tell you this, Trevor. When we were doing this Constitution, Constitution making is actually a negotiated agreement. You pick the views of Honorable Jared, Honorable Owen, pick your views, and you try to balance them. And we had come from a history where we had a failed attempt to have a new constitution in 2005, the referendum of 2005. And if you go back to early 90s, the agitation for multi-party democracy and all that. So we had come a long way where also lives had been lost, Kenyans were fatigued. So for us, it was a balancing act as the committee of experts that we do not want to throw away the baby with the bathwater. And that's why we balance. So Article 1 of the Constitution really, in my honest opinion, ought to have been more tightened. But remember, during the making of the Constitution, there were 4 organs. There was, of course, the Committee of Experts that was on the driving seat drafting the Constitution. Then there was a Parliamentary Select Committee in Parliament. Then there was the National Assembly, and then there's the people of Kenya in a referendum. There was also a 5th organ called the Reference Group. Although they didn't play, they were like the wise men. Whenever things go wrong, we will go to them and tell them, how do we go about this? So, at the making of Article 1, Article 104, which of course parliamentarians kill, including Chapter 6 of the Constitution. Because the moment we pass Chapter 6, where we're talking about the integrity of members of parliament or leaders occupying public office, the first mutilation to the Constitution of Kenya was in the passage of the Integrity Act, which actually watered down Chapter 6, so that it was almost impossible to actually hold anybody into account based on matters of integrity. Article 104 was also killed because then they made it impossible to actually recall a member of parliament. recall even an MC. So I agree with you. If there are any amendments today that are worth amending, one is to drastically reduce this parliament because it's a marketplace as we speak. You know, I'm sure even Honorable Jared and Honorable Owen sometimes stumble upon people they think are strangers, but actually they are elected from some constituencies.
That's true.
Sometimes they don't even know each other. And even right now, they will confirm to you, even the quality of debating, of contribution in parliament is not worth it. You know, Trevor, if you go back memory lane, you remember there's a time we used to have what, during Kanu's time, the shadow cabinet. Today, when you talk to people, they'll tell you, oh, we remember below Kero, where was then the shadow cabinet matters, finance and economic. And that's the time when there was really robust debate. You can actually follow proceedings in parliament. You can see quality of contribution. So today's parliament, honestly, is like, and you know, Weshimiwa can be honest to Kenyans. They are waiting for a phone call. In fact, some of them say, they just wait for the president to say, vote or not vote. When do you want us to pass this law? So I think this NADCO report, honestly, is personalizing the constitution of Kenya in terms of creation of these offices. These offices are not a priority for Kenya today. I wish there was a robust debate in parliament today to say, really, is the leader of opposition a priority for Kenya? Okay. Then what is Opiyo Wandayi doing in parliament? Because he's the leader of minority. Yeah. Why isn't Opiyo Wandayi presenting alternative motions in parliament against Kimani Ichung'wah on the other side? That is the trajectory we should go in terms of amendment.
Honorable Okello, is there a split in Azimio itself over this report? Because we didn't see Eugene Wamalwa and Martha Karua during the adoption of this report, and they have actually come out to say that anything that doesn't have the interest of the people in the forefront, they will not adopt.
Firstly, there was the Azimio Council.
But have they also defined what is the interest of the people? You know, they need to deconstruct that.
Yeah, let me come to that. Yeah, there was a summit, Azimio Summit in the morning, which happened at Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka Foundation offices, which was attended by all Azimio principals, including Eugene Wamalwa. Martha Karua apparently is out of the country. Actually, she was arriving this morning from Somalia. So her apology was actually passed over to us. And during their summit meeting, they were taken through the entire document by the experts who actually were in the technical committee, Honorable Jeremiah Kioni, together with Professor Adam Solo. So they actually took everybody, including members of parliament and the members of the Senate who later joined in the afternoon. So then, at that point, they aligned themselves to the report, of course, with a proviso, which was actually shared publicly by the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. So Eugene had another commitment, and the summit gave him leave in order to attend to that pressing matter. Otherwise, he ought to have been with us that afternoon. So that then explains everything. But let's come to the main issues here. Azimio presented 5 major issues for debate. And at the onset of their talks, they agreed that each party will bring forth its issues without being gagged by any side. And one fundamental issue that Azimio was following up on was cost of living. And we came to the realization that in the country now and everywhere else, the cost of fuel has a direct connotation to the cost of living. Because everything, be it transportation, be it manufacturing, be it everything is around fuel, cost of fuel. So the moment you are able to manage the cost of fuel, pretty much you are heading towards addressing the plight of Kenyans as regards the cost of living. So certain proposals were actually advanced by Azimio, one of which included bringing back the VAT to 8% as it was during President Uhuru's time.
But you could not agree on that?
Yes. Owen Bayer's team could not budge to that. And then there was the reduction of adulteration levy to 5 shillings from 8 shillings. And many other things, because you look at the composition of our pump prices, much of it is actually taxes. There are a series of taxes put in there that would push it to almost half what the actual cost of fuel is. So our proposal to them was, let us relook into these other taxes and levies under the fuel pump price so that we can make lives bearable for the people of Kenya. But when it came to that discussion, as you have properly said, that they did not accept, they said they have their bottom-up economic model that they are still pursuing. And therefore, any proposal coming from us in regards to cost of living should be shelved. And indeed, because we were not going to move forward, we said, okay, let's shelve it as we wait for the bottom-up economic model. Maybe it will succeed.
You actually believe there's a bottom-up economic model?
Well, that is what they said. I'm not saying I believe anything they have ever told me since they started campaigning, but that is what they said. Now, our other issue was on party fidelity. This idea of being elected in a political party, then a few days later, because your coalition has lost or has not been announced by Chebukati, now you cross over to the other party under the aegis of looking for development.
So we say, announced by IEBC.
Yes. Announced by Chebukati, working for IEBC then. So we said...
They cannot...
So we said...
But it was also confirmed by the Supreme Court. So even you, stop being stuck in this 2022 election. Can we move forward?
Okay. All right. Well, that is a debate for another day. Because it's a huge debate. We can discuss until cows come back. But so we said, let's have some discipline. And this discipline is not a creation of Azimio. If you read the Political Parties Act, it is very clear that whoever associates with a different political party that sponsored him or her into parliament is deemed to have resigned. So we were only giving more teeth to that act in our negotiation with Kenya Kwanza. But that also is still here and there. They didn't really address it as much as we ought to have. But then they changed it. They are intending to change that instead of deemed to have resigned to say deregistered from a political party. So like Owen Baya would cross over again to his big party ODM by way of association, then it will mean that he has deregistered himself from UDA. So that is, those are some of the things that we were trying to look at. Then we were looking at the audit of our elections. Yeah.
But before it goes to the audit of election, I want to challenge Honorable Jared here. Yeah. They should be the last people to talk about party fidelity, even if they took that to the table. Because, one, today, even as we speak, I'm not even sure whether Honorable Jared is a member of ODM or Azimio. Because it is also, they also created, influenced this conveniently, because there's no corporate membership. The law in Kenya does not, I mean, the Political Parties Act does not recognize corporate membership into a political party. It recognizes natural living persons. So they should be the last people to talk about party fidelity.
No. Well, that was just, Azimio is a coalition, just like Kenya Kwanza is a coalition.
No.
My friend
Azimio is described as a Azimio Coalition Political Party. That's what it's called.
Yes, but we made it as a coalition body under all those little political parties in it. But Kenya Kwanza also has other political parties beneath it. You have UDA, you have...
Kenya Kwanza is not registered as a coalition.
The coalition.
Yes, so whatever it is, they recognize it as their coalition. We recognize this as our own coalition.
No, yours is a political party.
Whatever it is. But I belong to ODM.
No, you belong to
a member of Democratic Movement Party. Yeah, but if that may have a problem with anyone, then they can go to court for interpretation, okay? But follow due process.
Which you did not follow.
So we really needed the audit of our election.
Yeah. So I do not. This is the best outcome for the report, and it should be adopted as is.
No. We didn't say it is the best. We actually gave out a proviso that we still believe that we ought to have done a better job, even with the audit of elections, the issue of cost of living, and the reconstitution of IEBC. That seems to have reached a better consensus, because firstly, they are going to expand the composition of the panel from 7 to 9. And then, you have the clergy presenting...
What difference will that make? You will still have a hurdle of who they are.
What difference?
4-2 will be.
But at least, at least the positions of the two warring factions shall have been considered in the panel. Otherwise, William Ruto was running away with everything. So we say this is an election.
Okay.
You can't be a candidate.
But the election auditing, Trevor, is not a new thing. It's already there in our law, in our IEBC Act, even under the Elections Act. It's a responsibility of the IEBC after election to actually publish an audit report. So taking it to Bomas was just mere politicking.
Okay.
So it doesn't really count. And in any case...
We wanted to give it teeth. So let me say this. I agree with my friend.
No,
Actually, the Political Parties Act...
explain. That is taking a lot of time.
The Political Parties Act also says that IEBC should conserve election materials for 3 years, during which period anybody could ask for audit. And then whatever the documents are availed in line of Article 35 of our Constitution. So that is already taken care of. Now, Baya's side wanted NGCDF to be entrenched in law. National Government Affirmative Action Fund. They wanted the Senate Oversight Fund together with the ward funds. They wanted it entrenched in law, and then fundamentally from their petition.
All right.
You remember when the issues of CAS, Chief Administrative Secretaries, went to court, the courts actually pronounced themselves by saying this, and I agree with them totally, that if Kenyans wanted CAS positions to be there, they could have said when they were coming up with a new constitution. Okay. And I agree basically with that. That is why...
I want to say this.
No, let me finish by saying that is why they could not provide conservatory orders, even though they asked for them.
Okay.
Now, the court said that the housing levy is unconstitutional, but they still go ahead to issue a conservatory order until 10th of January.
I can explain that.
Okay.
I can explain that.
I want to say,
yes.
I want to say this.
I can explain that.
We want back our money.
The issues of NATCO, the issues of NATCO, I think as a coalition, we were very hesitant to go into these talks.
Okay.
And ODM in its nature and in its DNA know only one thing: protest, bloodshed in the streets, and people.
Although you are ODS too,
around there, just to get into.
Good question.
Why you subscribing to those principles?
That's why I left.
So what liters of blood did you spill before you left?
That's why I left.
How many liters?
That's why I left. So they used all that to push for this dialogue. They said all these things that we were saying is to have the dialogue.
Are you happy with the outcome?
Kenya Kwanza said, okay, let's have the dialogue. And we thought that important issues needed to go into. That's why we brought our set. Entrenched CDF and the NGAF.
Which was declared unconstitutional, by the way.
That's why we want to put it in the Constitution.
We don't need it.
Okay.
I'll explain why.
NGAF, and, things that matter to the people. But of course, you can see the difference between the things that Azimio brought in and the things that Kenya Kwanza brought in. You can see the difference. These are their issues are political issues. Our issues are issues about the common mwananchi, and that is what we push.
Leader of opposition is a common mwananchi issue.
And office of Prime Cabinet Secretary
is a common.
You see, what?
Is Mudavadi becoming a common issue?
The lawyer is here. The problem that we have today, in this country is because we have an ineffective opposition.
No, actually, the problem, Mheshimiwa, is that we have got a very cantankerous and non-performing political leadership in this country.
Okay. No, I want to let me finish what I want to say. So the problem that we have is because the Azimio leadership is very weak in Parliament. It's very weak, and that is why now they want to be guided all the time by people who are outside Parliament.
So a leader of opposition would be better than a majority leader.
The minority leader. Probably we would have a semblance of leadership, That's why we said, let us put these guys in. Now, secondly, Trevor, this NATCO report, the NATCO report, for us, we are comfortable with it. It is a good document for the purposes of it. purpose of just having a document. But I do not think that we need to move to a referendum. I can say the people who love referendums, people who have for the last 25 years loved referendums,
including yourself, when you're in ODM,
have started saying,
the last 25 years,
have said they want. I can say Raila Bak's report demands plebiscite. He is the lord of plebiscites and referendums, and he thrives there because it is pure politics, and he thrives in that space, and therefore he wants that. He wants us to galvanize this country into the referendum talk, plebiscites for the next 5 years, just like he did in the last term of Uhuru Kenyatta. That is what he wants to do. But are we keen as a country? Do we want to go in there, or we have economic issues that we need to tackle as a country? These are the issues that we need to look at. Like, looking at the two, I think we need to move away from the politics of grandstanding, that it is either my way or the highway. We need to move away from that. We need to look at the issues that Kenyans are. So
it is a good report in you.
It is a report for the sake of it, for the sake of just having a report and bringing the country together. Let me finish. But I want to say this, and I want to tell Jared and the ODM brigade and the Azimio, because they do not know whether Azimio is a political party, ODM is a political party, and the issues that he brings forth about membership. If you go to one of the key committees of Parliament, one of the key committees of Parliament is the House Business Committee. The House Business Committee is half-half, okay? It determines the business of Parliament. The minority leader sees the majority. Actually, their coalition has more people there, technically somehow, and they determine what comes into Parliament every week. It meets every Tuesday at 12. Yeah. Okay, I walk there, and who do I see? One person from Azimio. One person. Every time we go for House Business Committee, one person. Two, the JLAC is one of the key committees of Parliament, because all those laws that concern, justice, they concern whatever, all those things go into that committee. Yeah. What do they do? When you say that Parliament is compromised, and you say that, Ruto bought members, when it comes to committees, it is not about minority majority. Yeah. It is not about that. And that is where the real business of the House takes place. They have not taken leadership. I want also to say this. I want you to watch today. Today morning we have a session, and we have a session in the afternoon today. Look at the bench of the leadership of the minority.
It will be empty.
It will be empty. The leadership.
Trevor, please, let's mark that.
You see no one there. You see no one. Jared will sit at his corner, and Nyikal will sit at the other corner there, but you will see that, in fact, there's a Wanami, the MP for, I don't know which constituency, because it is always empty, he takes pride in sitting at the minority leader's desk, because there's no leadership. How do you want to transform this country if the people given the responsibility by Kenyans to watch this government, to put it on its foot, don't attend Parliament? Yesterday, by the way, it was free fall for us. Yeah. There was no one.
There was no opposition.
There was no opposition yesterday.
Let's hear what also clarify for us.
So you cannot come here and say William Ruto
can be declared unconstitutional.
Yes. So first of all, just a final thought on the NADCO report. Yes. It's politics from both sides. Yes. None of them can convince us that it was worth the time and resources of Kenyans, because they never even prioritize. In fact, that Boma sitting tells you the Kenya Kwanza administration is not confident they actually won the election squarely. Because why do you go and negotiate with a loser? The losing side, rather. Yeah? So it was managing the bases, all of them.
We're just managing them. No. I can admit, you are managing the noise.
Mwesh, both of you are managing your political bases. So, and in fact, secrecy was never invented in this world, certainly not in Kenya. The truth for the matter is that it is said, again, and I will say it, can be held accountable. William Ruto and Raila Amolo Odinga started working as early as this year. And they agreed, how do we manage these political bases before we lose them? That's why Bomas was created. It was another version of handshake, just like Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga did. Having said that, the housing levy, let me clarify. It is possible. It's okay. I mean, it's okay for a conservative order to be ordered to be given even after a verdict. Now, it does not change the pronouncement of the judges that the housing levy is unconstitutional. Sometimes, in public interest litigation matters of this nature, you have to balance the interests of both parties. Remember, there is a right of appeal, even from the losers. So it's because of that right of appeal that the judges said, okay, we give them 45 days. Is it 45 days?
45 days.
45 days. We stay there. Yeah. So they can regularize certain things, but it does not take away the unconstitutionality of the housing levy. From what I understand, there could be people who have been given contracts and all the kind of thing to start building these homes. And it's not anything new, by the way. If you remember the CDF, the Constitutional Development Fund was also declared unconstitutional sometimes back. And it was stayed for, I think, 1 year, if I recall correctly. So there's nothing mischievous. People have speculated that,
But now workers' unions are demanding for their housing tax refund.
And you see, that is the question. Because one of the things that the judges actually questioned, this money, where does it go to? Is there a housing levy fund? And, those questions are there. I've not read the judgment fully. I've just snippets of it. But I think it's something that we all need to study, because normally in judgments, there's what we call the ratio, the rationale behind, the reaching of a certain conclusion. So, yes, that's a big issue. Where are you taking this money? And how was it spent? If you have not taken this money, if it's in a fund, then you have to refund people, because now the judges were clear. It's a nullity ab initio from the very beginning, as if it never even existed. So really, you cannot, you have to account for this money. And if I was Kenya Kwanza, and I hope Honorable Owen here will take the message to House on the Hill, just drop this thing. It doesn't make sense, because there's even no formula on how these houses will be redistributed. It's not even,
the funds already collected.
They have to refund them. For me, I support the workers' union. These funds have to be refunded. Because, to be honest, it's punitive. The typical, for example, public servant in this country, who I think this fund is even targeting more, and even just the normal worker. Typical Kenyan maybe has invested in a house somewhere in his rural home in anticipation of retirement. Some may be paying rent or mortgage here. To now punish them to build this, and it's not even practical. I sat down with some economists, and we cracked the figures. It's not even possible in the years that is being proposed that you can actually build a house. I don't know what kind of a house you'll build from your own personal contribution. And even the redistribution of those houses, the formula of redistributing is not clear. So I think this is just a bad policy that government, in my view, should drop.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's bring up some feedback here, and then I take closing remarks from my guests. There's a lot of feedback coming through. Let's bring that up on screen and see what you're saying on the topics that we've discussed so far. Trevor Mbija at Citizen TV Kenya, using the hashtag Daybreak. Let's bring that up on screen. Sir Nixon says, for how long shall we live with faceless cartel lords, nameless corrupt masters, immune terrorist financiers, and untouchable public property looters? Impunity is real. Okay? J.M. Musoma says, KK government should seek approval of parliament and seek public participation before making a secret carbon deal with that Dubai farm. This is not a G2G agreement. This must be subjected to scrutiny. That is on the front page of the Standard there. Babu Michael says, anytime I hear about the NADCO meetings and now the report, I think of those people who were killed during the demos that led to the talks. Life is valueless and very precious. And did they consider this? Or to them, it was an issue? Who will compensate? Okay. Leonard Masika says, the country is limping. Things are not good. We are asking ourselves whether we have the government in place or it's an example. The truth be told here, KK government has failed. It's so disappointing that even the parliament was long ago sold. Kenya imeisha kweli. 2027 is coming. Dugu Wanaina says, investments in high costly election campaigns is a high return venture. It is joined to corruption at the hip. They are Siamese twins. The unfortunate thing is that this racketeering doesn't stop. It is cyclical. It is recovery fast and start investing in the next election. Okay? Boya says, I'm tired of KK's narrative of we have brought down the cost of unga because we subsidize fertilizer. Can fertilizer alone translate to high yields? Honorable Owen, please listen to your fellow panelists. Okay? Kindly tell Honorable Baya that yes, the cost of unga has gone down. We appreciate. He must also tell us that the cost of electricity, fuel, sugar has gone up too. And through punitive taxes, they have taken away the buying power from us. Exactly. Okay? Honorable Okello, closing remarks on this.
Well, thank you. The courts gave more time, which was actually asked by the KK lawyers, that they should be given more time. It was not basically based on regularizing the loopholes. It was meant to subvert demands from Kenyans on this refund, because they knew that was going to be the next thing. So in order to buy time, they asked for 45 days, which the judges acceded to. So let's hope that by 10th of January 2024, of course the parliament is also going on recess next week, so we are not going to regularize anything. And by the way, 10th of January 2024 will still find us home during our recess, so nothing will be regularized. What they need to do is to find out where they took that money. If it is in the pockets of a few, which I suspect it is, let them bring it out and give Kenyans back their money without any further delay. We've only had 2 referenda. My friend here says ODM is fond of referendum manenos. No. We only did 2 during Kibaki's time. One was 2005, and Kibaki failed flat. And by the way, Kibaki failed having garnered more than 70% votes in 2002 December. But in 2005, this guy lost big time, that referendum. So it's a harsh indictment on Kibaki then, but a warning shot to Kenya Kwanza, that what befell Kibaki just the other day is going to befall them in 2027, whether they like it or not.
2027 is too far, Bwana. Will you be,
oh, can we get them out of office now?
Yes.
But the process is too tedious. How I wish. How I wish. Now, I have to say this, that my coalition attends committees. I belong to 2 committees, that of agriculture, together with the delegated legislation. The registers are there for anyone to see.
Okay.
So if Bayer is out here to castigate his own colleagues, that then becomes very unfortunate, including those in the upper echelon of House Business Committee. You know, that is it only chaired, one of the few committees chaired by the Speaker is House Business Committee. So when my friend comes on a public show in the most prestigious Royal Media House, and disparages his colleagues that he sits with in that committee, then it is very, very...
I think you should take the emotion of impeachment too.
I just want to say this, that as a country, we need to move forward together. And the NADCO report is one such possibility that tries to bring Kenyans together. After the many protests, the people that were killed, I think we have now come together as a country through the NADCO process. And I think as a country now, we should forget about protests and demonstrations and all that and look at the things that matter. The things that matter right now are people want to have an economy that is running. And as a Kenya Kwanza government led by the president, I think we still will implement the plan that now that we brought the cost of unga down, we'll bring the cost of electricity down. We'll also bring the cost of fuel down, such that it is our desire as a government and in our plan that Kenya becomes one of those big economies, just like other countries that have struggled but eventually broke through the ceiling. Kenya has that potential, and we will actualize that as Kenya Kwanza. But I also want to say to Jared that they need to marshal the coalition. The coalition is letting down Kenyans. There are many laws that are coming into Parliament. They need to sit in their committees. They need to sit, and I am not afraid of telling them the truth. They need to give leadership to Azimio in Parliament so that we can have robust debate, so that the laws that we are passing can be criticized and criticized, so that they're sieved through properly by different types of minds. Eventually, we have a good law for this country. But as it is today, we do not see that robustness. We do not see them raising to the occasion of who they are, so that we can give proper leadership and Parliament can earn its rightful place in the history of this country, this 30th Parliament.
Dr. Kuru,
you know, Trevor, every time I listen to a member of the KK administration, there is one common denominator. we will. So I think we should rename this government. We should rename it, not from KK administration, we should rename it and call it the We Will Do That government. that should be its new reference. Because everything they will do. And remember, Honorable Baya, let me just remind you.
Yes.
You know, when people criticize you, not because necessarily they dislike you or they hate you, it's because also of the political promises that you put on the table in 2022. It is you, KK administration, that actually came with timelines that gave hope to Kenyans. Actually, you sold hope. You know, I wish you could have emulated the campaign promise, the campaign of our president, the then President Barack Obama in 2008, when actually he sold hope that we will, yes, we can. And actually, he made some strides to that. I'm not saying it's a perfect. So for you, you now need to stop this, we will do this, we will do that, because you keep on reminding us what happens to the timelines that you gave. Because Honorable Jared Dia said it. These are not newcomers in government. Musalia Mudavadi was a deputy prime minister. William Ruto was a deputy president for 10 years. Kina Kimani Ichung'wah know matters about budget. Kina Murkomen, and all those people are now in government, actually steering very key government departments. So they are not new. So when you keep on telling us we will do this, we will do that, now we are beginning to question. This is political dishonesty. At its very best, because actually you never even believed in what you are telling us. And this is why there is change of heart. And by the way, Mheshimiwa Jared, it's not only Ekuru Aukot who has changed his heart over, because of voting for...
many. Oh, yeah.
Because even go to Uasin Gishu, the home of President William Ruto himself, you will see demonstration and dissatisfactions. And lastly, Mheshimiwa Baya, it's not too late for you to go back to the drawing board and relook at the plans or the programs that you promised Kenyans. You can always review. There's nothing wrong with saying that I think we made a mistake. Let's now actually rethink, redirect. Even in simple terms, you can take a mortgage today and things happen to you alone. You can go back to the bank and say, you know what, I think mambo ni mbaya, ni kubaya kimeumana. Can we renegotiate this or no? Give me a prolonged time. Yeah. And on this question of national debt, you keep on saying to Kenyans that we must pay, we don't want to default. There is nothing wrong with renegotiating our national debt so that actually you can cushion Kenyans. You are not talking that language. And you say you have got chief economic advisors. Now Kenyans are even saying, even this David Ndii is actually just an academic, a book economist, not a practical economist. And I think next time bring the Honorable Senator for Migori, Eddie Gisheru Okech, is more practical on matters economic. I think you need to invite him to your show for him to be able to guide this country on how we can actually improve the economy of this country from a practical point of view, not from these academic, and political promises of Honorable Owen Baya. When his people in Kilifi North are even sleeping hungry, and now he's telling us here the price of bunga.
All right, gentlemen, thank you so much.
My people in Kilifi are not sleeping hungry.
Oh my God, for now.
Acha bwana, mimi najua Kilifi North.